And that's the narrative. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Where is the job we are still in? Because I've been in South Africa for 20 years, and I've never worked in an established South African organization. Everything I own, I built it from the scratch.
Good day, viewers. Hope you are well. My name is Yanda Sondlo, and welcome to the segment of this conversations, which is intentional parenting. In this conversation, we share knowledge, wisdom on how to parent well in our generation. And my guest for today is Mr. Olani Abodele. He's a community builder, founder of the Nigerian publication, a chairman of the Nigerian Community Excellence Awards, and an overall entrepreneur. So, Mr. Abodele, welcome.
Thank you very much, and hello, viewers.
I hope I said your name well.
Well, no, you didn't.
I'm sorry.
You actually
I
slaughtered my
butchered
name,
it. Oh my God.
and I'm going to fine you for that. You're going to give me one count. We are Africans, and we should learn how to pronounce
Oh my
African
God.
names. The real pronunciation is Olani Abodele.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. So I guess you learned something new
Yes,
today.
yes.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get into it. What does intentional parenting mean for your community as a Nigerian man, as an African man in a foreign country?
Well, intentional parenting means imbibing the culture of good parenting, protecting the family, protecting the child, bringing them up in a way where they can be self-sustainable, self-sufficient, and building a path where they can strive to achieve for themselves. So, as a man, you carry the entire responsibility of your family on your shoulders.
Wow. So what are some of the things you've learned from your parenting in your country, and you see that they are very different to how us South Africans raise our children?
Well, I don't like comparing because for me, I believe every society is unique in its own way. But be that as it may, you've asked me a question, and I'm going to be very honest about it, and I'm, just going to share my views and things like that. Like I said, one thing I don't like generally is comparing because I believe every society has its own way of operation and its own way of acceptability. But if I would have to compare, or if I would have to say something that I feel that is different between the Nigerian way of life and the South African way of life in terms of parenting, I'll probably say I think we are more stricter when it comes to bringing up our children. Less of freedom for them, more of monitoring, and it's more of a communal upbringing. And what do I mean by that? I mean, as a Nigerian, I believe your child is my child.
That's true.
And if I see your child outside or anywhere doing something that is not right, I have the moral responsibility to scold that child, irrespective of the fact that it's not my biological son. I feel that is also like in here in South Africa. Then also, I think importantly, the issue of the 50-50 thing, the 50-50 law, we don't have that. In Nigeria, we don't believe in that. As a man, we feel we need to take care of all the responsibilities. That is not to say as a woman, you cannot help your partner, but it's not something that should be demanded. It's something that you should know as a wife or as a woman to say, my husband is struggling here. Let me just give him a helping hand. But even at that, most Nigerian men would even want to turn that out because for them, they see that as probably not good parenting or as a failure. And I feel that's how we've just been brought up and that's how we've been built.
Okay. Do you feel like some of the things that the way you grew up then and now there should be changes, and we should throw away some of some of the things that really seem like they are exaggerated, like corporal punishment, beating your child. That is number one question. And number two, do you believe in conversation rather than confronting your child, rather than you having the iron fist type of parenting?
Well, the world have changed, but irrespective of that, we are Africans, and we shouldn't forget that what makes us unique is our culture and our tradition. I'm not a fan of all this borrowed culture just because we want to impress some certain set of people and things like that. But be that as it may, the world is changing as well, and we also need to change with times. But when we are changing, we need to understand the things we are changing with, the things we want to remain constant. So for instance, I define myself as a modern traditional man, and what do I mean by that? I've imbibed some certain things of the future, but I also believe in some things that comes with my tradition. And I believe, yes, I should have conversation with my children, but I should also be able to understand what I want for them and what I want. And in having that conversation, I need to be able to put my foot down to say, this is what I want, not what you want. Even though if I listen to you, you understand, it still doesn't change what I feel as a parent is right for you. Then probably maybe if you get to a certain stage, then that I feel you have to understand life the more and things like that, then it's fine. You see, in the issue of disciplining children, I feel it's very, very important. We believe in it as a community. We still practice it, and not too much, but a child should be able to understand that I've done this and it's very wrong. Dad is not happy about it, and that's why I'm being punished. So that next time, when they want to do that, that flashes in their head that, oh, daddy didn't like this, and things like that. Yeah.
So does culture play a role in the way that you parent and the way that you bring up your children?
Of course, definitely. Culture and tradition, it plays a very, very important role. I doubt it, but I mean, probably it exists, but I doubt it there's any Nigerian home as it stands anywhere in the world that the emphasis of the Nigerian culture and tradition is not embedded in that home. That is us, and we carry it with pride. Even outside our home in the public, we carry it with pride. So in our home, we practice it.
There's something that I admire from your community. I don't know how people are going to perceive it or take it, but you bring up your children in such a way where you build a community for yourself. Like in South Africa, we call it Ubuntu. How does that work in your community where you build a community for your children? If they know they have a problem, they know that they can ask Auntie so-and-so, who's also a Nigerian. They can ask, so you know what I'm saying? So how does that work in your community? What is the benefit of that as a Nigerian and bringing up children in a foreign country?
Look, it's just that spirit of, I don't know how to put it, but it's something very, very special. It's something we inherited from our parents. It's something our parents inherited from their grandparents, from their own parents, and just down the line like that. Like I always tell people that care to listen, we are born travelers. It's not, we didn't just start traveling today. I mean, traveling has started from our great grandfathers. And that way, when we travel with our culture, we travel with our tradition, we travel with our food, we travel with our attire, we travel with our music. And when we see ourselves, instantly that bond just comes that as a Nigerian, you become proud. And automatically, everything around you, I embrace it. We begin to communicate. We begin to share ideas. We begin to enlighten ourselves and things like that. So it's something we grew up with. It's not something we learned along the way. It's something we grew up with, and it's something we live by because we've seen the benefit on us. And we want to transfer that to our children, irrespective of where we find ourselves in the world, and we always get in touch with home, no matter what,
Mm.
you
Oh.
know. Yeah.
So, the question that I want to ask, do you feel or do you think that the negative media or the negativity around that is embedded in Nigerians, or whatever thoughts that people have, does it sometimes impact the way you bring up children, and the thoughts that children might have about being a Nigerian, about their identity? Because there's always something that people will say about Nigerian, whether good or negative. I'm sure that also your children have faced that. So do you think it has a negative impact in your society and in the kind of way you bring up your children?
Look, that's one question we can never run away from as a Nigerian, especially in South Africa.
Mm.
You know, it's a very big issue.
Mm.
And there wouldn't be any need for me to come here and try and mince the word. You understand? In South Africa, as a Nigerian, for you to survive, you need to put in 300%. Because the mere fact that someone hears that you're a Nigerian, they already have a notion or a negative perspective about you. So you need to work 3 times extra for you to be able to tell them that not all Nigerians are bad. But that aside, I feel it's an intentional thing. Anywhere in the world where you see Nigerians, there's this negative perspective. I believe it's an intentional move from the media, to just bring us down and to try and kill our spirit. And either we like it or not, good or bad. I mean, there are bad people in every country.
True.
In every society, there are bad people, there are good people. So why concentrate on the bad ones and rather the good one? And that's why I say it's intentional. You can write it down. Nigeria is a very great nation, and Nigeria is still going to. No, I'm serious. And Nigeria is still going to rule the world, and that's why there's so much pressure from every angle, to just try and bring this set of people down, because they've seen our mentality, they've seen our survival spirit, and we are beginning to understand that. So it doesn't even really bother us that much as well, and we are imbibing that spirit of unity and proud identity in our children. And that's why even in schools today, you will see a Nigerian child that will be confident enough to stand there and say, I'm a Nigerian, without being allowed to be pushed down. Go to all major schools in South Africa, from primary school to higher education to universities, and see what Nigerian children are doing in these schools. You'll be amazed. Most of the top achievers in South Africa schools today and in South African university, one of their parents is a Nigerian. I'm not guessing. I'm saying it as a statement of fact. And it's because we've imbibed that culture of proudness, of identifying with your identity, no matter what. And that is it. So, but in as much as the negative whatever, we continue to excel. Name any industry in the world, or name any country in the world or whatever that a Nigerian is not performing there. You understand? So, yes, it does exist, but we are used to it now. It's like us getting up in the morning and taking our bath with it. Every day we wake up, we know we are going to be stereotyped out there, and we are prepared for it. And we walk through it as if nothing happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's not fair.
Well, it's not fair, but that's the reality of the world, But look, the honest truth is, there's nothing any Nigerian is doing in terms of negativity. I'm not condoning it. That any other person from any other country is not doing. But why so much noise about Nigerian? I'll tell you why. Because of who we are, our confidence, our braveness, and our hustling spirit. We intimidate a lot of people, either silently or loudly, and people don't like that. But I'm going to narrow it down to South Africa, And I'm going to divide our problems into about 3 or 4 categories. First and foremost, the South African women. In as much as we appreciate them, we are married to them, they are our wives, they've also played a very big role in the way we are perceived negatively. And I'm going to tell you why. You see the narrative, a lot of women, a lot of South African women, let me concentrate on South Africa because I'm busy. The kind of narrative a lot of South African women are pushing out. When you hear people begin to say, I can never date a South African. Nigerian men are generals. Nigerian men this, that. I'm proud of my Nigerian man. Nigerian men don't believe in 50-50. All those things they push out makes the South African men, intimidate the South African men and have anger towards us. Because don't forget, majority of the politicians, majority of the captain of industries are South African men.
That's true.
And when people begin to push that narrative, they begin to have certain way of thinking about us. That's one. 2, some of our brothers are also not helping issue. I need to state that fact. You understand? They're also not helping issue. Their way of life, their lousiness, their overconfidence. You see what they are doing in clubs. You see what they are doing on the streets and whatever. It's also one of the reasons as well, that is not helping us. Because I believe when you come into someone's home, when you knock and they open for you, you need to respect the laws of that home. You need to respect people you meet in that home. You cannot come into someone's home and want to dictate how they run their home. Because before you came there, they've been running their home and they are comfortable and happy about it. So when you come into that home, just respect their own ways as a visitor and manage yourself until you go out. But you cannot come into someone's home and say, no, in my home, I don't live like this. No, this is not right. Then why are you there? Why are you not in your home? So that aspect as well, some of our people are not helping matters as well. But in as much as I've said that, I'm a thoroughbred African person. I believe in the unity of Africa. I believe there are certain positives we can learn from each other. As Nigerians and South Africans, I feel we need to have this cultural exchange. We need to take the good things from Nigeria, the good things from South Africa. We teach each other, we collaborate, we grow, we empower each other, and we make Africa a better space for everyone.
It's true.
Yeah.
Just to step away a little bit from the parenting side of it, why do you think, number one, besides the dating part of it and the getting married to Nigerian, why do you think these countries intentionally hate one another? Because it's not only South Africans having a negative connotation towards Nigeria, but it's sometimes Nigeria having a negative connotation towards South Africa. You see it on social media and in comment section what Nigerian women think of South Africa. So do you think that we can come together if we can put out all the things you've stated? We can come together as a country, because we find ourselves clashing, whether it's soccer, it's women, it's marriage, parenting. A lot of South African women have children with Nigerian men. Most of them are married to them. Most of them have been married. There is good stories, there is negative stories, but I believe in every bad thing there's also a good story.
Absolutely.
Do you think that if we can put aside the negativity that we show each other, the animosity, we can come together and form a stronger Africa, just these two countries?
Look, definitely. And we've been saying that for a very long time. But you see, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are not like you and me. And when I say you and me, our mindset, our vision of life, our vision of humanity. A lot of South Africans feel their problem is as a result of foreigners being in South Africa or as Nigerians being in South Africa. A lot of them feel they're not getting employed because of Nigerians in South Africa. A lot of them feel Nigerians are using the medical, whatever, a whole lot of things, which is not true, you know. So it's just pure hatred, and it's very difficult for you to be able to change that kind of mindset. And don't forget, this is something of history. When I say history, we go back to the days of apartheid, where um, Nigerian played a very, very important role. In helping South Africa, we gave scholarship to a lot of people. Our fathers, our grandfathers were paying what is called as the South African tax, where they actually government actually deduct from their salary directly towards apartheid and everything like that. And we feel the South African society have not acknowledged that a lot. We feel deliberately they wiped that out in the history of apartheid, because when you hear South African government speaking and whatever, they do not give that credit to Nigeria. So there's the history of competition, and also Nigerians believe we are the giants of Africa. South Africans believe we are the giants of Africa. So that itself has presented a form of competition between each other. The music as well, Afrobeats and Amapiano,
oh my God,
is not even helping issues, sports and everything. So there's that spirit of competitiveness between citizens of those countries, which, if used positively, it's actually good.
that's true.
But unfortunately, there are a lot of people using it negatively for their own selfish interest. You understand? And it's also a trump card for politicians, because any South African politicians that want to get into parliament now, all they need to say is foreigners must go. And trust me, they will get a whole lot of followings. And before you know, they find themselves in a parliament. But after they find themselves in a parliament, how well can they pursue that agenda as well? So the political class is also playing on that to get to power and everything. But it's something that can be done. We just need to keep enlightening each other. We need to continue to showcase the positive side of each other. Of course, definitely, there will always be negative side. If you want to stay on the negative lane, it's good, so be it. If you want to stay on the positive lane, so be it. But I feel when we begin to showcase the positive side, we begin to collaborate more and things like that. But I'm not sure, maybe you're actually correct if you say the Nigerian women do not like the South African women. I'm not so sure about that, So I don't know where you got
There's
your
always a
analysis
power
from
struggle.
and everything. But just like South African men and Nigerian men as well, there's always this
Power
sense
struggle.
of competitiveness and whatever, I feel Nigerians are one of the most liberal people in the world. And I think because of our level of exposure, we travel out a lot. So we've integrated with a lot of community and a lot of society and everything. And it's not only the men that travel, the women travel as well, But it's just unfortunate that you won't find a lot of Nigerian women in South Africa the way you find them in UK, in America, in Canada, and those kind of places and everything. So I don't believe there's beef between the Nigerian woman and the South African woman. If you get to meet the Nigerian women at the level at which you operate, you will get to appreciate them. And that's the honest truth. They are very open-minded. They are very liberal. They also want to. They also want to cooperate and everything. And I'm sure if a Nigerian woman was to sit down, the same accusation you are throwing on a Nigerian woman, the same accusation a Nigerian woman will throw on the South African women, that, but why is it that South African women don't like us and everything? So I think as Africans, we all need to work together. Be it male or female, there's a lot for us to achieve if we can work together. Trust me, Africa is big enough. South Africa and Nigeria, they are the two biggest economy in Africa. The African Free Trade Zone is coming. We need to leverage on that.
That's true.
We need to open up opportunities for ourselves, and things like that. And I don't know, have you ever been to Nigeria? When you go to Nigeria, the story is totally different.
That's true.
As a foreigner, you go to Nigeria, you come back with a very, very different mindset about who we are as Nigerians. Yeah.
Just to move away again from the conversation, I was recently in Zambia, and the Zambians were speaking the same thing, that they don't find, when they come to South Africa, they don't feel welcomed, they feel rejected, and they feel like South Africans are stealing, they are there to steal their jobs, they are still stealing opportunities. And I kind of felt bad because that's not how I grew up. As I said, I grew up in the spirit of Ubuntu. Even the way that my parents brought me up, my parents were freedom fighters. So sometimes our home, different people will be coming in, even foreigners. So it was very offensive to hear such. Do you think is what would be the downfall of South Africa?
To be very honest, I feel yes.
Mm.
And why have I said yes? Life is not constant.
Mm.
Situation changes.
Mm.
And that's why they say in life there are always ups and downs.
Mm.
I'm sure 20 years ago, no one had the idea that Nigerians will be traveling out that much because of the situation back at home. I'm sure 20 years ago, Zimbabweans would not believe they'll be traveling out because of certain
That's
reasons. And I can give examples like that.
Mm.
But something I've also learned in life is conflict management,
Mm.
how to manage conflicts.
Mm.
And situation shifts.
Mm.
If we're in an argument now, me and you, at one point in time, the advantage will be on my side.
Mm.
If I don't manage the advantage very well, it moves to your side.
Mm.
If you also don't manage it very well, it moves to my side. And why have I said this? Is that either good or bad, South Africa is not going to be like this forever.
Mm.
There's still going to be a shift.
Mm.
And when that shift comes, positive or negatively,
Mm.
where do South Africans, who do they lean on? Where do they begin to go?
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
When they've shown the world
Mm.
that we can stand alone, South Africa is an island. No country is an island. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Get you.
We need ourselves. When the situation changes, where to next? Because it's still going to change, and that's the honest truth. It might not be now, it might not be in 10 years' time, it might not be in 20 years' time. If you understand, it's still going to change, and that's the honest truth. And then when that happens, what now happens? Either we like it or not. When you look at the situation in Nigeria, you look at the situation in Zimbabwe, it can never get worse than it is now.
Yeah, that's true.
You see, in life, there's what you call the upward trend, right? When it gets to a point, when it hits a point, it begins to come down. Then when it comes down, when it hits the rock bottom, there's no other way to go. It begins to come up slowly. The Nigerian situation and the Zimbabwe situation has hit the rock bottom. It can only begin to come up. And that's life. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when it begins to come up, it grows again. Where is South Africa now? Is it still going up? When it reaches one point, when it hits the roof, it's going to come down. At one point during apartheid, it was down. It hit rock bottom, it started coming up. But unfortunately, when it was down, the people that were around it, it had shown them that it doesn't need them anymore because it's on its way up.
Wow. Do you think our history plays so much role of being to show animosity to other countries, because we come from a history of apartheid, which is whites fighting blacks fighting whites. So I believe South Africans are not only against Nigerians, but all other African countries, as you're speaking of Zimbabwe, Zambia, and other countries. Do you think is it because of our history, it has been imbibed in our minds that there's certain people who came to take from black people that we cannot rise up? Do you think it's now psychological? It's in our psyche.
I don't believe so, because look, in life, you need to know your story. And I feel your story should define who you are. And like I always tell people, there are three forms of education for me. One, as a child, the one you learn within the four walls of your home that your parents teaches you and whatever. The second one is when you begin to go to school, from your preschool to primary to high school. That's another form of education, the one you learn within those four walls of the institution. And then the third one is you yourself. What have you learned from your environment? And that is the most important thing. That is what defines you. And that is where the survival spirit comes. You understand? A lot of South Africans today never went through apartheid. They never did. So for you to say, probably, maybe, I kind of disagree. Because in most cases, the history are not even that taught in school now for them to even understand deeply what they went through. You understand what I'm saying? I feel they are taking the anger of the failure of government onto the wrong people. I feel it's just an easy way out to accept the reality of where they found themselves and how they can move out of that stage. Because I can tell you for a fact that 90% of Nigerians in South Africa are not employed by government or by private organizations. They are self-employed. They are self-sustainable. We have a rich community. We have the numbers. We are putting in the work. You know, and it might even interest you to know that there are even a lot of South Africans that would prefer to source certain things from a Nigerian or from an African than from a South Africa. And why is that so? The work ethics. Even us as foreigners, you know, we think twice before we employ or before we bring a South African into our space. No, but that's the honest truth, because you will see from that work ethics that level of self entitlement. You are a foreigner in my country. You've achieved this so much. You've achieved so much in my country that when you employ a South African and the closing time is 4 o'clock, they won't even wait beyond 4 o'clock. Once it's 4 o'clock, there's nothing you can tell them. They pick up, they go. Even if there are 10 customers, it's closing time, they go. Do you understand? They don't want to understand the fact that business is ups and down. There are some certain months that you wouldn't be able to make much. You understand? They are not willing to sacrifice in terms of anything. Any small thing, they are going to the law. They are reporting you. That level of self-entitlement. And one thing again South Africans must learn as well is they must learn how to survive outside of debt. Because the system, right from the days of apartheid, have been so structured that you are constantly in debt, which you cannot afford to be out of work for 2 months. Otherwise, everything you think you own is taken away from you. That's something South Africans can learn from Nigerians. We don't believe in debt. We believe in living with what we have. You understand what I'm saying? And so, yeah, and that's why I said there are a lot of things we can learn from each other if we want to be honest with each other. You understand? So I don't believe it's the history, because what South Africans are showing towards Africans, they are not showing it towards white people. That's the honest truth. Look, either we like it or not, there are a lot of white-skinned people in this country that are not South Africans. But police would not stop them on their way just because they are white-skinned to say, where are your papers? They can be in South Africa for 20 years. No one will stop them to say, where are your papers? So I don't feel, if there's that sense of anger, animosity because of the apartheid, that anger should be channeled towards
the white people.
the white people, not towards black Africans. You understand? So I believe it's an intentional thing, or I believe there are people on the background that are driving that narrative of hate amongst Africans. Because look, the truth is, before you can conquer a set of people, you need to divide them first.
That's true.
So when they divide us and they begin to descend on South Africans, there's not going to be help anywhere. And trust me, that's the narrative. That's the narrative that will play up at the end of the day. It's divide and conquer. If you don't divide them, you can't conquer them. So first of all, let's separate Africans from South Africa, let them hate each other. And by the time we begin to pounce on these other parts, the other part would not support.
Wow. Speaking economies, I read an article in 2020 that the average home buyer in South Africa is either Nigerian, Congolese, and Ghanaian. And that made me very sad. I mean, cash, like the average home buyer in South Africa is a foreigner, especially in the suburbs. And all of us, our dream is to live in the suburbs because of the culture, the environment, and everything that is good to bring up children. Do you think that was embedded in the way that you bring up your children? Why do you think is that so, number two?
No, like I said, the system that you guys grew up with in South Africa, especially, well, anyway, the developed world, I'm just going to put it like that, in developed world, because even if you go to the US, the UK and whatever, I think the statistics are almost even also the same thing. A lot of Nigerians, a lot of foreigners are owning homes that are bought cash and everything. I think where we come from, we've been taught that spirit of survival, you know, and that's why if an average Nigerian man, father dies today, 90% of what you found around him is his own. He's probably not owing anything. The children are going to take over it. But you see, the world system generally is to keep us down, to keep us busy. Because they do not want you to have enough time to be able to think, to be able to create your own thing. They don't like that independence. You understand? So first, they structure it that you need to work to survive. When you work, they start throwing a lot of things from you. They give you cars. They give you opportunity to buy home and start paying. They give opportunity to buy furnitures and start paying gradual and everything. All these things are a way of tying you down and keeping you in the system. Because if you are not in the system, don't forget, they cannot control you. They have to keep you down. They have to have something to hold you down to be able to control you. It's a control mechanism. Do you understand? And it's a pity because the way you guys are brought up, it's embedded in you. You feel that is the right thing. But for us, we feel it's not the right thing. Do you understand? For you guys, you believe once you start working, you want to go to the car shop, you want to pick up a brand new car, you want to. Look, either you like it or not, foreigners in South Africa are changing the narrative. And what are they changing this narrative for? Don't forget that a lot of these things are being controlled by the white. The white have structured that system. And South Africans believe this is the system we need to live by. But we don't believe so. And that's why we are competing with the white, and we are breaking that structure for the whites, and which they don't like. Because now we are beginning to affect their finances. And finance is power. And that's why mortgages, a lot of us are not picking up mortgages. A lot of us as Nigerians would, if we are buying car, we would rather continue saving our money. When the money is complete, we buy it cash. Before that, we are not going to buy it. You understand? So in a lot of sectors, even in construction, building homes, selling homes and whatever, Nigerians are going into it, and they're not doing it with loans.
Mm.
They are doing it with their money. They build a house outrightly, they sell it, all the cash is theirs.
Mm.
It's because that is how we are brought up.
Mm.
That is what we understand.
Mm.
Now, it's a different thing for you to say it's a good system or it's a bad system,
Mm.
depending on where you come from, you
Mm.
know. But for me, I don't believe in debt.
Mm.
They've banks, everything have been throwing all sort of debits, offers to me, credit cards, blah blah blah. I've not taken any single one.
Mm.
In fact, at a point, my bank said, no, it's not possible. You just have to have a credit
Debt.
record.
Mm.
That it's a must. I have to have a credit record.
Mm.
I said, no, I don't need it. They said, no, because you cannot do anything if you don't have a credit. You have to owe.
Mm.
It's they have to score you.
Mm.
So I said, okay, if that is the case, what is your cheapest credit card I can take? And I took a credit card for 2,000. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Because I mean, we believe when we want to buy anything, we buy it in cash. Otherwise, we move on. We don't buy it at all.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. So speaking economies, South Africa is currently sitting on 8.2 million unemployed people. And there's always a narrative that, yeah, Nigerians or foreigners are here to steal our jobs, to steal our women, to steal our businesses, to take over our countries. Then in this 8.2 million, I've never seen a Nigerian taxi driver. I've never seen a Nigerian nurse. I've never seen a Nigerian journalist on City Press or wherever. So where are they stealing these jobs? Because most Nigerians, I believe they own, as you said, they cannot do anything without proper papers. So which jobs are they stealing? And number two, the businesses that they own and that they are benefiting South Africa, do you think that that is the real problem?
So the businesses they own,
Yes.
that's what?
That are they benefiting South Africans? That's why South Africans feel like they are here to steal their jobs, because there's 8.2 million unemployed people in an economy of 60 million citizens.
And that's the narrative. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Where is the job we are stealing? You know, because I've been in South Africa for 20 years. And I've never worked in an established South African organization. Everything I own, I built it from the scratch. You know? And there are a lot of Nigerians like that. Trust me, you will be amazed the kind of businesses Nigerians own in this country. You will be amazed. You'll be amazed the number of South Africans, Nigerians have employed in this country. You will be amazed. Trust me. So, and look, for any economy to survive, small businesses is the way out.
It's true.
Small businesses is the way out. No matter what you say about Nigeria today, the poverty level, this, that, people are surviving. And people have cash at hand to spend. They are not employed. They are self-sustained. They are small businesses. You know, and that is one culture. My wife is South African, and that is one culture I'm imbibing in her. 90% of South Africa want to work in government agencies or want to work in multinational. It's either that or nothing. And I keep telling her, no, that's not the right mentality. Because when you work with these people, your time does not belong to you anymore. You do not have enough time for the family. You don't have enough time for the kids. Rather start your own business, build your own business. Your time is your time. You have staffs, you have workers, you can direct. You understand? So, look, what foreigners are contributing to South African economy, you'll be amazed. You will be amazed. You understand? Do you want to start from the automobile industry? Do you want to start from the housing and construction perspective of things? Do you want to talk about the entertainment of things, you know, and things like that, you know? So, foreigners, Nigerians are contributing a lot. This notion of foreigners are taking our jobs, I don't understand it. You understand? Now, I'm going to divert a bit to the issue of the spaza shop, because this is something I've been following, and this is something that is of interest to me and everything. I believe that narrative of spaza shop is coming from somewhere. It's not just South Africans, and everything. And don't be surprised that, I mean, we are beginning to see it, beginning to see all these multinational retail shops beginning to design containers to take over these stock shops and whatever. And these retail stores, who owns them? You understand? Now, they've seen the amount of wealth in the township, and they want to control it as well. Because he who controls the economy controls life.
Yes, sure.
Do you understand what I'm saying? But also, do South Africans that wants to run the talk shop, I'm not saying they can. Do they really understand what it entails? These Pakistani guys, these Ethiopian guys, they don't have life. Some of them sleeps in that shop.
That's true.
Some of them, 4 a.m. in the morning, they have to wake up to take their bath outside. They don't leave that shop. Some of them might be there for 2 hours without saying, I'm going to drink, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to... They sacrifice. They sacrifice a lot. They sacrifice a lot. When I say they sacrifice a lot. Do you know what it means? Staying in a house or staying in a shop for 6 months continuously, not even going out or whatever. Staying in that stock shop and things like that. So we need to have a discussion around all these things and whatever. You understand? Now, when you chase them away from there, you know what it takes, where it takes you to go and shop. You understand? So first of all, I believe in this apprenticeship way of life, because we practice it in Nigeria. I believe what South Africans should be talking about is probably a lot of these stock shop owners. They should bring people from the location to understudy them in terms of apprenticeship. How do you guys survive? Your way of life. What are the things you do? Then after a certain year, you can graduate. Like in the Igbo culture, for instance, there's what you call the master and boy entrepreneurship. And what is that? I, as an established person, I own a shop. A boy, 2 boys or 3 boys comes under me. They come and serve me. They come and serve me. And when they come to serve me, they stay with me. We wake up in the morning together. We go to work. They are in the business. I begin to show them things. They run errands for me. I begin to train them. They see. Probably they'll be with me for 5 years. After 5 years, and I'm comfortable that, okay, this one is matured enough. I see, understands, whatever. I now establish my kind of business, my kind of shop for him. He does graduation. I give him that as his gift. He begins to run that. He takes people under him as well. He does the same thing. Now, we are replicating that. We are growing that. Different people are getting established now, owning their business and whatever. And that's how Nigeria have been surviving. You understand? That's how Nigerians have been surviving. Wow. Even in terms of hairdressing, you see people, they take up apprenticeship. Maybe one family brings their daughter and say, let this person learn from you. The person is staying with them. The person is seen every another 5 years. They do graduation. They establish for the person. The person stands on his own. I believe that is a system South Africa needs to imbibe, rather than just chasing all these people out and them taking over it all at once and things like that. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Speaking economies, as we're about to close, there's a term that Nigerians are using now as they are coming out of the country. They japa because of the economy.
Yeah.
But Nigeria has the highest GDP in the whole of Africa, but they do have economic issues. They do have financial issues. So what do you think are some of the things that we can learn from them as Africans and South Africans, that you still do thrive in a bad economy?
The hustling spirit. the self-belief, the never give up spirit, the I must survive spirit. That's what they should learn. When you look around you, there are opportunities everywhere. And like I always say, some people are traveling out of Nigeria for economic reason. Some people are not traveling out because they are poor or because they can't get anything to eat. Like I said, we are explorers. Just that instinct of going outside, establishing somewhere else, achieving somewhere else, learning new things to take back home. That's why a lot of people are traveling. You understand what I'm saying? So South Africans need to learn that. There's a proverb in my place that says, "It is he who have not seen the next person's home that thinks his home is the best or is the biggest." Do you understand? If you've not gone into your neighbor's house, you're only still assuming your house is the biggest. But if you go into your neighbor's house, you might be surprised that your neighbor's house is bigger than yours, and you can actually learn a lot of things from that. So South Africans need to understand that, and they need to understand that spirit. As we speak, irrespective of whatever anybody wants to say about Nigeria, millionaires are being made in Nigeria every day. Look at what Nigerians are doing with the tech industry. Look at what Nigerians are doing with entertainment. Look at what Nigerians are doing with Nollywood movie industry. Look at what Nigerians are doing with social media. Look at what Nigerians are doing with sports. Look at what Nigerians are doing with fashion. I can continue to name this industry. Every sector that we put our foot on. Look at what Nigerians are doing with crime as well. No, either you like it or not, good or bad. And that's the honest truth. But even these crimes that Nigerians are learning, where did they learn it from? Who did they see do it? But is the media talking about it? No. You understand? No, they are not. You understand? So South Africans need to imbibe that spirit of survival, that spirit of self-entrepreneurship. You understand? That spirit of, I know what I want to do and I want to go for it. And not just sit down and rely on government employment or multinational employment and things like that. There are opportunities. And trust me, despite the fact that the South African government are not giving us opportunities, Nigerians are still striving. How so? Because even as a Nigerian, you can't get sponsorship, you can't get support, you can't get anything. But we are still surviving. And the AIDS, despite the fact that we are surviving on our own, the AIDS level is even increasing. So why can't they rather come and say, guys, we want to learn? A few South Africans are doing that. I must let you know. Especially a lot of ladies, you know. And trust me, if you go to Nigeria and you see the population of South Africans in Nigeria, you'll be amazed. You will say, what? So there's this high number of South Africans living in Nigeria. A lot of Nigerians are getting clothes from Nigeria. They're getting things from Nigeria. They are selling it. They are selling them here. That's the spirit of entrepreneurship. That's the spirit of survival. You understand? We need to do that. Even the government needs to do that. To say, okay, let's merge together. One Nigeria, one South Africa. What can we learn from each other? You understand? And the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there. It's huge. I must tell you. So a lot of Nigerians are not traveling now because they are suffering back at home. I'm not suffering at home. But just that spirit of survival. You go out, you learn new things, you know, you get a lot of respect. When you get back home, your vision in life is wider, it's bigger, and everything. And that's why I always tell people, go to Nigeria in December. You'll be amazed. You see Nigerian Chinese children, you see Nigerian Indian children, Nigerian Arab children, Nigerian Asian children, Nigerian South African children, Nigerian European children, Nigerian American children, because we are all over the world. And we're married. And we are married all over the world. You understand? And we take our children home. You know, there is hardly any Nigerian child that is not the wish of the father to take that child back home. Circumstances might not allow that. And I'm not saying that there are no people traveling out of Nigeria out of wanting to survive or out of wanting a better life. They are. You understand? But not everybody is traveling out because they're suffering back at home. And irrespective of whatever anybody wants to say, there are opportunities at home. Huge opportunities every day. Nigeria is still a sleeping economy, despite the fact that it is the biggest economy in Africa. But it's still sleeping. The tourism industry is not yet at its fullest potential. The infrastructure, whatever, is not at its peak. The housing is not yet at its peak. The fashion is not yet at its peak. The movie industry is not yet at its peak. The leisure is not yet at its peak. It's still a sleeping economy. And you'll be amazed from over the world if you see the number of white people flying into Nigeria. It's because there's opportunities there. And here we are, as Africans, when we are supposed to be leveraging on that, we are fighting each other. We are saying we are stealing each other's job. Which job are we stealing? Which jobs are we stealing? You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to give you a little example. The international money transfer organization. I used to be a brand ambassador for one of them. You understand? And they were finding it very difficult to enter into the Nigerian community in South Africa because it's a very close community and whatever. And they were doing roughly about 5 million on a monthly basis in terms of transfer out of Nigeria. And when I became their brand ambassador and I began to work with them and everything, and when the door was open, they began to do business of about 20-30 million on a monthly basis.
And these are in rands.
Yeah, and these are IMT organizations, International Money Transfer Organizations. They are predominantly owned by white people. But our black brothers are fighting us. They are taking our job. No, they are this, they are this. When the opportunities that they can leverage on. That's just one example.
Wow. Just before we close, why do you think in your community cutting off the umbilical cord is so important? Like training your children to be independent from as early as 14, 15 as they are about to finish school is so important, because that is some of the things that I admire about your community, especially the mothers. They're very intentional about their children learning a skill, working, creating their own business, and as they leave home, whether to university or for greener pastures, there's a mentality that you can't come back home. Your place has been given to someone else, and going out, you should be independent.
Like I said, that's a survival spirit in us. And skills is very, very important. Skill is something that can sustain you when the chips are down. So you need to learn one skill. Because when the chips are down, that is what will carry you. And we believe in that. There's hardly any Nigerian that does not have one or two special skills. Because that is what survives. That is what makes you survive. It's not your average 6 to 5 jobs that makes you survive. When that 6 to 5 job is not there, what's going to sustain you is a skill. So we believe when you are still young, that the problem of the world is not yet on your shoulders. Begin to learn one or two things. You understand? Even me, as I sit down with everything I do, I've got skills that gives me side hustles. I do photography. I do graphic designs. You understand? Those are skills that I've learned even right from Nigeria. And they are paying off here. Because at the point when the chips are down, I was doing that and it was sustaining me. You understand? So it is very, very important. And once they train you, you go outside. You begin to fend for yourself. Then give opportunities to the next person. Pull someone up or allow your parents time to concentrate on the person. And no matter where we go in the world, home is always home. We always remember home. We also send things back. We send things back home. We invest back home.
Mm.
We build back home.
Mm.
Because no matter how long you stay outside,
Mm.
home will still
Home
call
is
you.
home. Yeah, wow. As we're about to finish, can you give advice to any South African parent, South African citizen about just having a community as a parent, having a community as a normal citizen on that camera?
Well, um, my fellow South Africans, my fellow Africans, we are one as Africans. The African culture and tradition is unique. And when I say it's unique, it brings up children in a very special way. It empowers the kids. It gives them that sense of responsibility and that sense of accountability. It gives them that sense of family unit. We are Africans and we cannot deny that fact. We need to understand that. We need to train our children as Africans. We need to imbibe in them the culture of self respect, the culture of dignity, the culture of survival, and the culture of independence because no one knows where they will find themselves tomorrow, and those skills are going to be very, very helpful. And what we can do as Africans is for us to begin to work together, for us to begin to learn from each other. I want to learn about the South African culture. I want South Africans to learn about my culture. I want to interact with South Africans. I want to see myself doing businesses together in South Africa. I want to see South Africans going to Nigeria with me to do business. And likewise, Africa is a big enough continent. And trust me, everything we need in Africa is here in Africa. And we can only utilize what we have if we work together. Remember, to conquer people, they need to be divided. They are trying to divide us in order to conquer us. And the earlier we understand that, the better for us as Africans. Bring up your children in a very respectful way. Bring up your children in a way and manner that they portray who you are to the outside world. That when the world sees them, they see you in them. And that's the best we can give to our kids. Thank you very much. I love you, South Africa. I love Nigeria and Nigeria to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Viewers, thank you so much for watching our episode. I hope that you've learned something, and I hope that you take something from this attitude and change the narrative of how we view people who are not South African. I'd like to thank Send Studios for I'd like to thank Stan Studios for sponsoring this podcast, and also thank them for sponsoring our water. I hope to see you in the next one.